Welcome to the Wise Guys podcast, where Mac, the Rev, and Coach Stu dive into conversations that push the boundaries of wisdom, faith, and culture. The traditional ways have had their time. Now, join them in exploring fresh, diverse perspectives on the challenges we encounter every day.
Well, welcome to the Wise Guys podcast. Yes, the challenges that we face every day. Wow. So we come from the edge right now, and I don't know, maybe this week I can say this, guys, maybe we're on the knife's edge. I don't know. This last week was tough, man. There was a lot of stuff going on, right?
I felt like I've been teetering a little bit on that edge.
Yeah.
Just one thought, one idea, one experience away from falling off.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, we're right on that.
I'm with you. For me, it's been more than a week, but it's been 2 or 3 weeks for me.
The last 12 years.
Yeah,
Right,
12 years.
yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
All right. So we come into this episode the week following some tragedy that is more highlighted. I think every week's got some tragedy, right? Depends on where you're coming from and where you are and what your experience is. But we had some national highlighted tragedy this last week, and we're going to talk about that. We are certainly going to address it and come at it from a few different perspectives. So get ready for that. But we're going to start out before we press ourselves into that. What I've titled this kind of section is Soul Aches. And I want to kind of a little bit go back to last week where we were talking about the soul. And Stu had brought up that question about the soul. And how, whether it's last week or last month, or I'm sure we're going to have some soul aches for every one of us is coming up at some point in our life. What are those things and how might we navigate them or at least embrace them or sit with them? So we're going to start out with that. And then I think that's a good transition to the soul ache that many of us are feeling from the current events. What do you think about that,
Yeah.
guys? Is that okay?
So if I could, let me start.
Okay. Go right ahead, man.
My emotions are raw, very raw. Amidst everything going on that you see in the news, I've had some real life soul aches. So a couple of weeks ago, my 16-year-old dog, we had to put down. So that's always tough. Anybody that's a dog owner knows they're part of the family. So
Absolutely.
that was tough. And then only a week later, my mother-in-law passed away, and she lived a good long life. She was almost 99. So she's seen a lot in almost 100 years. She was born in 1926. So it's been a long time, but still, it's still raw on your emotion. It still hurts. And we're in the midst of it right now. We're not even through it. We haven't had the celebration of life yet. And all of that. And I work out of her house. So now I'm going into work and she's not there. And it feels weird. And like my wife's been taking care of her. Jody's been taking care of her for over 6 months. And now she says, who am I going to take care of now?
Yeah, you said that earlier. And I was like, oh my gosh, what an unbelievable perspective that is.
Yeah, it's hard. It hugs on you. Like this is perfectly named. My soul aches, and it's very emotional. And you add everything else into it and it's accentuated in me because I'm an empath. Like I feel things,
right.
you know, from people. And so what's going on, I'm feeling it besides what's going on in my own life.
Right. Up in the field.
Yeah. So it's just rough right now. I just feel worn out. I feel like I need a break from life, which I know I'm not going to get, but like when in powerlifting training, when you get to this point, you take a break from working out.
Right.
You know, like we just don't work out and take a break. I can't, how do you do that with life? Yeah. How do you, it's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I really understand that idea of a soul ache. The last 2 weeks have been incredible. I'm managing a lot of emotion, not just on the national scene, but just the people in my life, the difficulties, the challenges, and some really exciting, wonderful things as well. A lot of death, a lot of saying goodbye, and a lot of new birth happening. And it's the emotion overload. My soul has ached in a bad way, and it's ached in a good way, a longing for something greater. But I'm going home tired. I told my staff today, I'm exhausted.
Yeah.
And I'm physically able to keep going, but emotionally, I really get that. You're just so much, I can't handle anymore. I need to get away. And master teacher, come apart for a while. Come apart for a while or you're going to be coming apart. And I'm right on that edge. I'm about to lose myself I need to pay attention to the ache to take care of myself for just a moment.
Well, this is a great point. To pay it, first of all, to pay attention. It has to start somewhere, and it's an awareness level that has to come to you instead of just totally melting down, totally out of control, and not being able to cope at all.
My grandmother used to say, God doesn't give you anything you can't handle.
Right.
And then she'd say, I just wish you didn't trust me so much.
That is my least favorite saying about God ever. Yeah.
You know, the aches, we need to listen to them. That's really what we're saying, that either we're in tune enough with ourselves and the Spirit of God, because I believe that the Spirit will also quicken that in you, that will say, hello there. Hey, be aware. Be aware. I'm here, but be aware that you're not dealing with this all on your own, first of all. And yes, it does hurt, but it's part of the human condition right now that I don't think we ever, in this human life right here, unless we totally get enlightenment, right, that we don't have this struggle.
So what do you do when this is going on?
There you go. See, there's a good question.
Well, I tell you what I do is that life will bring me to my knees if I'm not listening.
Yeah,
that voice
right.
is speaking constantly, but it's not thunderclouds. It's a still small voice. And when I find that I get to the place where I can't handle, that's where something good can happen.
Yeah.
So the ache is leading me to the next evolution, the next part of myself, but I'll never find it unless I get brought to my knees and stop and listen.
And then there needs to be the next step to listening says, I'm going to do something about it then, typically, whatever that might mean. I mean, it is going to require, well, for me, let's go back to my scenario. What was it, a couple weeks ago now, that I had just been dealing with some stuff for about a month or maybe a month and a half. And finally, I got to a point where I said, okay, I need to disconnect for a while, for just a few days. Staying in the same environment, doing the same old stuff, I know isn't going to help me get a better perspective or look at something differently or whatever. So I went off for 3 days, and it was the best thing for me. That what I needed to do.
Not like crazy went off.
Yeah.
Like you went somewhere.
I went on a retreat. Yeah.
But you know what that required is listening.
Yes.
You had to listen. The coach has to be listening to the emotions. There's a lot on your plate.
Yeah.
You had to listen, and you did take an action, but you had to listen first.
Correct. Yes, there's a process.
So you went somewhere is what you're saying.
I did. I just got away. I knew I needed to have just a change of scenery, and it was nothing to do with anybody or anything here other than it was here. And it just needed a different perspective. I just needed to look at different things. I needed to be exposed. I went up the mountains in North Carolina. And again, it was a smart move on my part because I did come back. I'm not going to say just like light years changed or anything like that, but it mattered. And it did tweak me. And it did cause me to think about some things differently, which at this point now, since then, has certainly had its effect. Okay. So anyway, you got soul aches. And so as we've had not only personal, as Stu and the Rev have been talking about, and even myself, we have a corporate ache that I think if we're all one, then we ache together.
Well, that's it. There's a collective ache happening on the planet right now. It's happening nationally. We're all aching.
Yes.
Because it's emotional overload for the entire country right now.
Right.
Not arguing about who's right or wrong or who's got the corner on whatever. It's just, we've forgotten.
Yeah.
We have forgotten that we belong to each other. We are not a United States, and we're all carrying that load. And you can see it on the faces of everybody. On all sides of every aisle, of every position, everybody's a little bit tired and weary. And I think there needs to be somebody that stands and says, stop.
Yeah.
That we hear that voice and says, stop. Let it stop right now, the argument, the fight, the attack, and let's come to a place of breath.
Well, it's that voice has got to start. And I think you do see some of those voices out there. All right. I think they're out there, per se.
This can be simple. And the way I see it is like this. Fight the idea, not the person.
Well,
right?
Okay. Yeah. Right.
So I think what's happening is we're fighting the person and everything is personal. And when you do that, you just start going after people instead of after ideas and thoughts that people have and what they're doing.
Right.
Right. I mean, and this is true like in any relationship, like a marriage, right? You don't want to fight your wife or your husband, like the person. Like if they do something you don't like, you want to talk about that, the action. That's what I'm getting at. Like we got to fight the ideas or the thoughts, not the person, not the people.
Well, I think that's a good perspective.
It's really important. I find that if I'm still fighting and I'm fighting and I'm fighting an idea, and I don't give myself to stop fighting. A boxing match, 15 rounds, they still take time between the rounds to replenish, to make sure somebody doesn't get totally annihilated and get hurt. We need to stop fighting for a Sabbath, if you will. Take the time to go, whew, this got really intense. Let's back up and go to our corners for a second and breathe. And then come back into the argument, the fight, or the debate, which is essential to grow. But you're right. I'm not fighting a person. I'm fighting an idea. But I'm going to say give yourself a Sabbath from fighting ideas as well.
That's great advice. I like that word, Sabbath. Yeah. It's a deep breath.
Yeah,
it's an
needed.
exhale.
It's needed.
I need it. That's all I know is if I don't do that, I'm in big trouble.
Right.
People, a lot of times they don't have a goal in mind and they don't have an outcome that they're looking for. My dad used to tell me when there was something that I didn't, something happening in my life that I didn't like and I wanted to change it. He would always say, go have your day in court. But when it's over, it's over. But you've got your day. Go give it your best. Give it your, and whatever happens after that. And if you're not happy, then you didn't give it your all. Like you've got to give it your all and feel good about what you did. And then whatever happens. Yeah. And I always thought that was great advice for me.
I think so. Yeah. But we dealt this last week with shooting violence, killing, whether it was the situation with Charlie Kirk or kids get killed in school, things like that. And one was political. The other one was basically social. And so we're dealing with all of this kind of violence against whether it's racial, religious, political, ethnic, or fill in the blank, right? We've got them all going on right now. And one of the things that I think that I'm grieved over, and this is this. I think about my kids, and then I think about my grandkids. Now, all three of us have grown up in an environment that, for the most part, I can't remember. Anyway, I'm just going to say this. I was alive in the 60s, but I was younger. I really didn't grasp the significance of everything that was going on. But in my lifetime, from what I can remember, I don't remember the tension across the board being this intense. Now, the kids, though, my grandkids, for instance, they don't know any difference. This is kind of the way it is for them. It's somewhat for my younger kids. I think it's probably the same thing, but I don't want this to become the normative.
I drove over here today and I was a little bit tense dealing with a lot of stuff today. And I saw a couple of kids playing in the cul-de-sac out front, having a great time, really smiling and laughing. They were not in that stress and that tension. Now, there are those that would say, well, it's because they're just kids and they can't do anything about it. That you're unconscious if you act like a child. But I do believe that there has to be a moment where I just allow myself to become a child. I cannot change it overnight. I'm not going to fix it overnight. I might not have a corner on the truth. So let me just take a moment to go play and relax a little bit, because I might need that to get back in the ring, to get into the fight, or maybe come back with a different mindset. I don't want to fight you anymore because we're both getting bloodied. Everybody's getting bloodied. And let me tell you what I said it Sunday. People say, oh, well, bullets are worse than words. You know what? Words are the fuel for the next bullet. And if I can't control my words and just go play with somebody I don't have to even agree with, I could, and I said this and it scared me when I said it, I could be the recipient of the next bullet. If I can't stop my hateful language, I am fueling the next bullet that might be coming my way.
Right. Well, you bring up a good point too. All right. If you have children, if you have kids, and I'm talking not grown kids per se, but kids still in your household that you're raising, that are around, that, that kind of like we do here. That's what you saw out there. Okay. Now you have to say, what effect do the parent, my wife and I, have on their ability to play and to just be happy and go live life? Or are we creating so much tension and so much anxiety that they don't understand necessarily what's going on, but they sense it. They could sense it. And so now you're really suppressing their joy by the fact that we maybe can't control and can't deal with our angst and our soul ache.
Okay. Wait, I have to comment on what you just said, Rev, about that. I don't care what somebody says. Nobody is justified in killing somebody for the words they use.
Yep. I agree
at
with
all.
that.
And it sounded like when you were talking about that you're worried about, I got to be careful what I say, otherwise I could be shot. And that to me is the wrong message to give people.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody should be thinking about killing somebody else because of something they say.
Right.
It shouldn't happen. I mean, we're human beings living together, no matter what adjectives go in front of the word human being for you. No matter what race, religion, man, woman, whoever you are, it doesn't matter what you say. You could say the worst things to me. I am not going to think that I need to kill you because you said that.
Yeah,
that's wrong.
That's not what I'm saying. That's not what I said at all. But I'm saying, why is it acceptable for hateful words to be spoken? Period. Because that is the fuel that leads. It's middle school mentality. I hit you, you hit me. I hit a little harder, you hit a little harder. Those words are the foundational that cause the bullet to happen. Killing somebody is wrong.
I completely do not agree with you on that.
Okay.
The words did not, that is not how we should be looking at life. We shouldn't be looking at life like I got to watch what I say. Otherwise, somebody could pull a gun out and shoot me. That is not the right message to be given.
The message I want to give is your hateful words are destroying people.
I get that, but we can have a conversation. We can talk about it.
And we do that at this table, but we don't do it with hate.
Right. And that's what people need to learn in our country and in our society is to have civil. Now, I don't even call it civil. You could have conversations that get passionate and get heated, but none of them should ever end with somebody pulling a gun out and killing somebody else.
I think we're all in agreement with that.
But that's what he was just saying, though. He's just talking about.
No, don't put words in my mouth, Coach.
Tell me what you said. Tell me what you said. Say it again.
I said the fuel for the next bullet, the next bomb,
exactly.
the next
That's what
gun,
I'm talking about.
It's leading to when I am in a hateful place and I allow hateful things in my environment, it is leading. There is a cause to the effect of a gun. The gun is not right. The killing of a human being is not right, but neither is it right to use words as a weapon, because I've seen lives destroyed with words used as a weapon. It's equally abhorrent to me.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying we can compare it's apples and oranges, one's good, one's not. It's all wrong.
Well,
all of it is wrong.
Right. And I think you can go back a little bit higher and just say, this all started by trying to compare. Somebody made the statement to you that, well, a bullet is worse than words. That's kind of where this whole thing was going to start with.
It's, my words are justified. They're okay. No, your words suit to my child. I'm going to defend my child. I'm not going to shoot you in the bullet, but I'm going to stop the hate and the violence because words are very violent.
Well, I think there's where I think we need to land the plane that says, look, words have damaging effect upon relationships, upon people. So separate out. If I point a gun at somebody and I pull the trigger and kill them, okay, that's a cause and effect. That's pretty bad.
That's an effect of a cause that's got to go way back.
At the same time, we need to, and not just in a sense that we're afraid of getting shot, but just in general, that we have to guard our tongue. I think that's where we're also
that's
coming
what I
down.
posted on Facebook. I have to really guard what I'm doing because I might be a cause of an effect that could lead to a gun or a bomb or a knife or whatever weapon it might be. I want to really hold myself accountable to what I am speaking into the field because it is causal about the next violent act. So I'm taking personal responsibility. And I said this Sunday, for any word that I have ever spoken that was hateful or belittled somebody or tore somebody down and made them to be less than, I want to apologize. I want to own it because it is a small drop in the great big ocean of the violent world that we have created.
Well, that's right.
And I'm saying I'm going to own it. So I'm owning it personally. And I will hold my children accountable to the hateful language that it can be part of a greater effect down the road.
Right. And I think what Stu was saying is, look, we would wish we didn't have to live that way. We didn't have to live in that thought process. Oh, if I say something I
I
shouldn't.
agree. I mean, I agree with what you're saying. We all need to dial down the rhetoric. We're all speaking too hateful, not just having conversations that that you can disagree with somebody and for not to be hateful or. But there should never, to me, there is no link between I'm saying something and you're going to pull a gun and shoot me for it.
Oh, I think there's
none of it's
definitely a link.
justified.
There should not. If we're thinking that way, we've already lost.
Yeah, it happens every day.
We've already lost if
But
we're
it
thinking
happens
that way.
every day.
That doesn't mean that it's right
Oh,
and
I
that
didn't
it
say
should
that.
and it should be happening.
No,
That's
I
what
agree.
So that's what I'm talking about. We got to get to a point where people's words aren't being used to justify somebody killing somebody
I
else.
would love to. I don't disagree.
I think we completely agree with that.
Yeah.
Never any justification for killing, period. But I don't believe there's any justification for tearing somebody else down either.
Yeah,
But it's okay
Well, that's because of who we are. We don't think that way. I mean, we're,
But there are people that do think that way.
I understand.
Yeah.
And I don't think that they should be shot.
Correct.
Well,
I don't
agree.
either.
I don't think anybody. Yeah, I don't think we're saying that.
I think they should be held accountable.
Not at all. Yes,
You know,
sure.
and again, if somebody shoots me because, and this is going to, I'll make this personal, that I've been going around town saying that the coach and the Stu are this and that, and I won't use any swear words online here. You're this and that, which I don't believe. And we get into a battle and a fight that's going to escalate. I need to be the one that stops and pauses to say, let me be the one that de-escalates this. Let me be the one that is the pattern interrupt, because it's starting to get more and more. And that's the middle school mentality. I'll get a bat. Okay, I'm going to go get 2 bats. Okay, I'm going to go get a gun is where it eventually lands up. And that's where all wars have come from. My bomb's bigger than your bomb. And then people die.
Right.
No excuse for death. But there was a cause, a thread that went way back where it was acceptable to be hateful. I want to go back to the root cause that never has another person be shot, never has another person's life taken away or destroyed, which is wrong. But we can say that. I want to go back to where there was a cause. Where is the root to that? And pull that up by the root, because there was step by step that got to that place.
Right. Well, again, this is the human condition, as Stu was mentioning. We sure would wish it was different, that we didn't think that way, that we didn't go there. And we could draw all sorts of conclusions that we want. And there's the difference between should we and do we. Okay.
So I love, at this table, you guys have passionately debated and argued. And I've been so impressed because it did not get hateful. It was friends sitting down and having a really different perspective and opinion.
And that's what needs to change.
Exactly. That's what I'm
right.
saying. It needs to change.
I agree.
want more conversations like that,
Yeah.
where I don't have to tear you down to be right.
Right. Yeah. So again, we've got these recent incidents, without a doubt, that are up in the field right now. At the same time, there's lots of others. And so it's much bigger, if you will, than just the things that took place last week. Not to minimize that, but just to say, broaden that thought a little bit.
And just for the record, because I want to paint myself in a true light here, I wept and I saw Charlie Kirk being killed, and my heart bled, my eyes bled. I was in, what have we come to?
Right.
That this is an acceptable response. It's mental illness, but I think we're running a low-grade mental illness on the planet because we're looking at all the effects and not getting to the cause. Let's pause for a moment.
Well, and I think we're even connecting the dots wrongly to come up with the wrong cause sometime. I think we tend to want to point fingers to find the cause instead of going back to what we were talking about.
Well, the coach said something earlier in the pre-show about we're blaming somebody.
Right.
Who is to blame for our problems?
Right.
That's a solution to, that's an answer to the suffer. No, not an answer. That is going to lead us to a place of deep suffering and more attack. What is wrong with us? And what is the question I asked Sunday is, what can I do to make it better? What can I do to be a better cause here?
Right. There's where it comes down to, and I think, and the commonality. Let's go back to that, where our souls, the ache that we have in our souls is communal. It's common. And so we can start right there and not get hung up on, out here a little bit. And there's all kinds of opinions and back and forth about what caused that or who did that or who said that. At the same time, we need to have a big enough ache that it motivates us to do something to change. So we were thinking that we were talking.
Well, we talked about the very beginning. What was the words? Soul aches, right? So I worry about people's souls when you have the ability to celebrate when somebody gets killed.
Mm-hmm.
And the only reason I'm commenting on it is because the way I get my information is I got to see it. That's just, that's just how it is. And I saw it and I was shocked. I couldn't even imagine celebrating. I don't care who it is.
Right.
That made my soul ache because I saw it too and I heard it too. And it's like, what have we become?
Right.
What kind of mentality is driving that celebration? And I grieve for 2 little girls who don't have their dad, for a wife who no longer has her husband. To celebrate that is how evil have we become. And I don't really believe in evil, but boy, we're getting as close as I've ever seen when that is happening.
Well, there's evilness happening.
Right.
There's evil actions happening and evil thinking happening.
Sure. Oh, yeah.
But the Rev is right. I know that sounded pretty strong earlier, what I was saying, but I agree that we got to dial it down. We can't be calling people names. And a lot of people are doing it right now and making it okay. We can't be, the second you say somebody's a Nazi or a fascist, or you name the word, you name the phrase, what do you equate that to? You equate that to people in history that were really bad people. And you would want them to go away. Mm-hmm. And so it's being, like you guys both have said, it's being normalized, and that's not right. We got to change how we're doing this,
well,
Well, and again, I'm sorry, I keep interrupting, but it's been a soul ache for me, and I've been living it since last Wednesday, and trying to figure this out. I've got to hold myself accountable. Yeah. It's easy to look, but we should be doing that, or you should be doing that. You know what? I look in the mirror in the morning and go, how did I contribute to this happening? Well, I should act differently. Right. And I want to dial back any thought, any feeling, emotion, action, or word that I've ever spoken and go, I need to do better. I will do better because I can.
Well, you're great about no matter what we talk about, whatever subject we talk about, where you will always gravitate to in the conversation somewhere is to say, look in the mirror. Okay.
I want to hold myself accountable.
Bring it back inside. That's right. That's why we end up in conversations with people that say things that we don't agree with, and they could be very mean, hateful things. And I know you guys maybe do it different than I do, but I just don't participate. I don't allow that energy to continue on in that conversation. And I will never embarrass anybody in front of other people, but I might pull them aside and say, that's not okay in front of me or in front of anybody. If you're going to make it about me, I'm going to say, hey, it's not okay for me. I'm just going to talk for me. I'm not going to speak for the other people out there. But that's accountability when you do that, when not participating in it. And sometimes it's uncomfortable.
Right.
Because they want to say these things and they expect you to agree with them. Like, you know what I mean? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And how do you respond to that? I mean, that.
Yeah. And I think about.
And they're looking for justification, right?
Of course. And where do you find the justification?
They want people to agree.
Think the same way.
The ego is looking for the army. Let me gather my army. You know what I mean? They're trying to reel you in to be a part of their army of the right and the wrong, the good, the bad. And that's dividing the world.
Well, it's really,
and you're right. Don't participate.
It's way easier to rally people around something you're against than something that you're for.
That is so sad. I mean, no matter what the topic is, I guess for me, that's more of a kind of a negative way to live life versus trying to live positively.
Well, and I look at that I think that is a valid effect that we're experiencing in the world. It is easier to do that.
Right.
Okay. Then I look in the mirror because that's what I do. And go, how was I a part of causing that reality? How in my environment did I cause that reality? Let me back it up, dial it back a little bit, and take self-inventory.
Well, and you know my answer to that?
What?
To your question?
What?
More than zero.
I love more than zero.
I quoted you guys in the class this week about more than zero.
If any of us thinks that in whatever way that we are contributing to the overall angst, in whatever little way, it could be a little way, it could be scathingly on social media, using all the divisive language going. Again, how do you separate yourself from the whole? All right. Mm-hmm. So you got to sink in to say, just like this, you'll take more responsibility for it if you think you're part of it. Okay. As opposed to saying, oh, no, Okay, that's you guys. Sorry, no, that's my problem. Okay. So how about this? This discussion, how about a way? Because I think Stu said this earlier. He goes, well, how do you deal with it?
Yeah.
What do you do? Right? Like, for me, what's helped me this last week was the teaching from Edgar Casey on faith. And this really kind of came back and I think fits right in with how do you deal with these kinds of things? Everything we've been talking about, right? All of it. And one of the answers for me is to grow my faith, that I can count on a deep, abiding trust and grounding in God or the divine or whatever word you want to use, that then I can begin to model from, that I can begin to exhale over. And I want to read, if you're a Christian and you read the Bible, you've probably heard this a zillion times about how do you define faith? What does that mean? Okay. And in Hebrews 1 starts out with the classic Christian verse that speaks of faith. Faith is, and it defines it, right? Now, I've read that a zillion times out of the NIV, but I love this description out of the Message and how Peterson puts it. Hebrews 11:1. I'm sorry, not Hebrews 1. Hebrews 11:1. And here's how he interpreted it or did it. The fundamental fact of existence is that this trust in God, and you kind of have to go back a little bit to the end of the other chapter, but this trust in God, this faith is the firm foundation under everything that makes life worth living. It's our handle on what we can't see. I love that. I just love the way he put that.
Yeah, I do too.
That there's a faith that undergirds. It's a foundation that as you grow it and as you press into it, as you believe in it, there's all these components. It will cause you to act differently. It will cause you to speak differently and think differently. And your soul will come into tune with that and help you navigate the aches, right? And it'll teach you whether, have faith. I know it sucks, but, okay, or victory or redemption or whatever it might be, right?
I love this. And it speaks to me because I believe in God and I have trust in God and I have faith in God. So for me, this speaks to me. And, so I know a little bit when we were talking before we started that I had mentioned, what about people that don't have an importance on God or faith? Like how do they look at this? How do they, I think I said, I can't imagine anybody who has the kind of faith in God like that I feel I do could ever imagine doing what's happened recently. I just can't even imagine it. So is that missing from those people? And I know we got into, you can do this in the name of God and things like that, but that wasn't what was said, at least to this point. But what do you think?
For the answer, this is why my soul's been aching. Is because I want to go have a Sabbath and pull away. And everybody says, but you're the minister. You're supposed to have the answers. And my answer is always in the scripture you just read. The foundation under everything is I've got to develop my faculty of understanding. Correct. To try to crawl underneath the surface level of things. And my faith is that there's something I'm missing, something underneath the language, something underneath the action that's calling for my expression. And that's the ache, something, and that understanding for me, you can call it God. I'm going to call it love. That's my favorite word for God, is that the fundamental fact of his existence is that distrust in love. That's the only way I sleep at night and answer the ache. Love's going to have its way here. And that's my constant prayer. Love, move here. I know you're here. I know I'm missing it. I can't see it. A lot of us are missing it, but I know you're there. So let me have my faith in this undercurrent, that which we're missing and not seeing, that it can rise.
Yeah.
That there is a greater capacity in our arguments, our terribly heinous, violent acts, that love is more powerful than that. And if I can stay long enough, hold the banner of love long enough, that eventually its face will be seen for everybody.
Amen.
Not easy work.
Gee, will that preach?
So that'll preach. Yeah. So I gotta do it right. That'll preach. So how do we, I just raised my hands up. Like that's what the Rev does. So how do we reach those people that don't experience love, don't feel love, don't understand it? Like how do we, if that's what it is, how do we reach them? How do we get to them so that they do have some experience that would get them to think second, have another thought about what they're about to do that could be an evil thing that would be like, this is not.
Talk is cheap. We can talk about it till we're blue in the face.
Yeah.
Show me.
Action.
Show me. Let me somehow put my proverbial arms around everybody and demonstrate I care about you. Even when we disagree, you need help, I'm there. I'm putting my hand out and that act itself shows love. It's more powerful than the spoken
So
word.
how are we missing this with some of these people? Doesn't it seem like an easy thing
That's the quintessential question.
Yeah.
There's nothing easy about it. I have to suspend a lot to be able to show love.
What I was going to say is easy to think about. It's easy to think, well, let's just do that. Like, how are we missing these people? Is it because we're like walking around with blinders on, like not paying attention to who's around us? And
you know what? I think it's two different things for me, Stu, when you ask that question. Number one is exposure. That they need to see it. They need to see the difference in our lives. And then I think, even though I know what Francis said, okay, but I would want to use words as well to explain this. Where does this come from? Why do I feel the way I do? Why do I look at the world the way that I do? How do I have a peace that I have that follows my faith? And I do think it's both. It's expository, it's out there, and it's also, hey, what do you have there? I want some of what you got.
Yeah.
But I think what it is...
Setting a good example, it sounds like.
Sure. It's the doing part, of course. But here's why. One of the answers that I have to why is it this happening, because I don't think we know how to, or we're not having enough conversations. I'm going to put it like on a level that will help bring a lot of these thoughts and even some answers out within the conversation. I would like to say it's just, we need some deeper conversations. We need some stuff that we're talking to people over that they can go talk to.
But we have to intentionally do that.
That's right.
We
That's
need to sit down and be uncomfortable a little bit and go, we're going to talk this through as friends. Yeah. And again, you guys have proven that for me in a beautiful way. I do more of it as a result. But I need to be able to suspend my judgments. I need to suspend my opinions and go, you know what? I've got love for you. You've got love for me. Let's meet there and then have the conversation. And when we get intense, go to our corners, back up, come back. Love will lead.
Right. Let me share with you guys, and I hope it affects everyone listening, is that the uncomfortableness can be dissipated. And here's how. I don't feel like no matter what I say to you two, that I'm ever judged for it, no matter what it is. So that creates safety for me in having the conversation. And I know that there's times we're three different people and we're not always going to agree.
Well, there's times that I haven't been too safe, and I'm admitting that. Okay.
I'm just saying that if more people could do that, then yes, it'll be uncomfortable at first until that safety is built.
Yeah. Right.
That, okay, they didn't go, I just said this and they didn't go away. They're still here. They called me the next day. I
have to ask the question because somebody put this to me this week. Are there forces that we are not aware of playing to the lowest common denominator of our humanness? And that we are being manipulated to fear each other. And so we don't have the conversations because there is an underlying fear that media, that politicians, that people who are immersed in the hate are manipulating the rest of us to fall in line with the separation of us. It requires us to be conscious, to have that conversation, to be okay with the uncomfortableness. But there's a lot of energies moving in the direction, yes, I can divide you. Great.
Well, I think it's an energetic force that we've created. I wouldn't necessarily, myself anyway, go to a place that there's an outside force that's coming in. I think we create it, and we send out, just like we send out positive energy. I think we send out negative feelings, negative thought, and we've been doing that for so long that it becomes normal. It becomes who we are, and that's our fault.
So have we normalized fear?
It gains more traction. If you look at something simple like what gets the ratings.
Yeah, that's true.
Right? It's not the good stories. It's the drama. It's the fights. It's when I watched The Newsroom, right? That TV show, there was a big debate about that all the time. Are we going for ratings or are we going to go for the truth and the facts?
Right.
And it may not be watching car wreck, but I want to say this. There's not enough of them, but there are people out there that are trying to make a difference.
I agree.
And this is crazy to say. I mean, that are in politics. Yeah. There are some guys and girls that are having civil conversations with one another that are opposite sides.
Isn't that great?
I heard a Republican and a Democrat giving kudos to each other today on the news. Right. Fetterman was one of them. And Fetterman is one of the guys who is trying to make a difference and trying to have conversations with people.
We need to seek these people out. We need to give our attention to them.
So here's the problem. He's one person.
Yeah.
You need more than... but it's a start. And that's what I'm saying. It's not everybody out there being divisive, but they're the loudest. And because of that, there's more of them, or the other people that don't think that are afraid to step up and say anything for fear of what's going to be said about them
of course.
When they do that, right?
Well, I want to make sure we make a point here too, when it comes to the conversations and all. We don't necessarily, if you're hearing this, and the encouragement here is to have more conversations. And again, we're looking right in the mirror, all right? It's not like you need to do it. We all need to do it. But it doesn't necessarily need to be with people that you think might not agree with you. If it's more comfortable for you, gather together right now and do it with an intelligence, do it at a level of consciousness that we're trying to give each other new ideas. Hey, I hadn't thought about it that way.
There it is. It's a pattern interrupt.
Yeah.
Go ahead and sit with people you are comfortable with.
Okay.
Think exactly the way you do, but interject. Maybe we need to consider a different idea and not be so, because we feed on each other. Yes, this and that, and then it escalates. It's like pause, breathe. Wait, maybe we've misunderstood this here.
Exactly.
Maybe we need to pause and look at these people, these decisions a little bit differently. Yeah. And I will take flack on the other side for having made that statement. You, Pollyanna, asleep, you take your Sabbath and you don't affect anything. But the reality is, I found that even in my family, you said one person in politics, I want to be the one person in my family, in my work environment, who is offering an alternative to the hate, an alternative to the gang. Well, let's gang up against them. I sing this song all the time. There is no you and me, there is only God that I see. There's not us and them. There's only God. Amen, amen, amen. We've lost sight of that.
Yeah, well, that's what we were talking about earlier, about can you have faith and that. If I go back last week as we wrap up, I go back to the little clip that I played last week. And if you remember, if you didn't listen to it, go listen to it. Okay. And where she said in that 5%, 5% can move the needle, right?
Yeah.
So now let's break it down personally. If you go to church, if you're part of any group where you have effect on somebody else, I mean, where you're having conversations, 5%, just 5% can really start to make a difference. And it has to start with 1%. And it goes
with one person. Change your thinking, then change the conversation. Change the conversation, you change the end result at the end.
Absolutely.
And nobody is being wiped from the face of the planet.
And let me remind everybody what the Rev talked about earlier so eloquently. It's got to be with a goal of expressing and showing love, how to love. And I'll add one other word, kindness.
Yep.
I know it's all kind of the same thing, but
all of it. Gentleness,
But we've got,
grace.
If we look at it like that's a mom, that's a dad, that's a brother, that's a sister, that's and not whatever else other label you're giving them.
Yeah.
And just come from love. Everybody has a story. We've talked about this, right?
The stories, sure.
So they're speaking the way they are because of their story.
Absolutely.
So all you can do is what Jesus did: show them love, and maybe God will have an effect on their soul.
I try to say all the time, there is no private good and there is no private suffering. So if you are suffering and that child is suffering, that parent is suffering, I have to suffer along with them. And if I've lost that capacity, boy, I need to check out for a while and check myself.
Now, we have, as we said before, as we literally wrap it up, we each have a soul ache, right? We each do. And this has been great. Both of you guys, and I think all three of us, have been willing to share our soul aches and the struggles that we have when we have them and the victories, because this is what it's all about, okay? Right? I mean, really, truly, we're all having soul aches over lots of different things. Stay grounded. Maybe take some of the stuff that we've talked about, whether it's conversations or getting away for a little while or reading some things or contemplating some things, having the faith, building your faith. We talked about all of these things tonight, and they're just scratching the surface. Frankly, think of it, ponder it, because 5% starts with 1%, starts with 1%. Okay. The encouragement here is be that one person, right? That starts it whenever your realm is. So guys, thank you. Thank you for your aches and sharing your aches with me, with them. It's been awesome for me because not only do I get encouragement from it, but I also feel your ache. You know?
It is holy, sacred ground and territory that we can share our ache. It gets passionate. We look at it from 10 different angles, and then we end the podcast, or we end the conversation, or we end our time on life going, a little bit more love is on the planet as a result of standing in the fire of the ache.
That's right. And sharing it. Okay. So thank you for listening. Thank my wise guys here for being wise. I appreciate that. Think about some of this stuff, and we know what you're going through per se, and we're here. And hopefully we've given you some encouragement in that. So thanks for listening, and we will see you next week.